Is it working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. If you'd all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A little short here tonight, but the three of us are here, so that's all we really need. Do I have a motion that we approve tonight's agenda?
I so move that we approve this evening's agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
With 3 board members present, tonight's agenda has been approved. Item B, awards and presentations.
Okay, our first presentation is going to be our steering committee that is working on the possible new school or possible renovation. But I've got my team here and I will do a little bit of introduction. Okay. This was requested by the school board for us to look into a possibility of maybe new buildings or maybe a new school. We didn't know what it was going to look like. So when we were down at the ASBA conference down in Phoenix in December of 2022, you know, when we're looking at all the booths, I came across an architect group called GH2, okay? And I have 2 members of the GH2 here. We have Andrew and we have Anissa. And they have worked with us since the very beginning of meeting them. So again, that was December 2022. A lot of meetings went back and forth that we did. We finally did an initial internal meeting August 22nd of 2023. September 5th, we did our Winslow kickoff meeting. And that's when we opened up the survey that went to like our staff and to the community and wherever we could promote it with the QR code on it. And then in December, we did our teachers meetings. GH2 met, they did groups and split into different schools and met with teachers, and they also met with students to see what they would want in a new school. And then on December 8th, we met again. I think we were down in Phoenix at that time, and they met with everyone here on the school board. We met them down in Phoenix after our ASBA conference. And so we got to talk a little bit and kind of get a feel for what you guys were looking at and thinking of, and some things that we had come up with during the meetings. And then on February 6th, we finally got the steering committee selected to start researching this. Is this a possible? Is this something we can do? What factors do we need to look at? Now, we picked the steering committee very carefully. I tried to get a parent from every single school, okay? And so we did that, tried to get someone from the church. I tried to get someone from the city, which I've got David Coolidge here. Hey, David. He reminded me, hey, I'll be at your meeting. And I said, what meeting? I forgot at school board. But thank you, David, for the reminder this morning. I looked at people that could possibly also be business people. This is one of my business people. I looked for people that, I try to hit every part of the town. I had someone from Coopertown, someone from Southside, someone from over there in the Bonnie Brennan area. I got an NAU professor, Jason Litton, who agreed to be on this, and Katanya. Katanya is, I have her representing our reservation area. I also have Todd Wilcox on there, because Todd Wilcox is a council member with Bird Spring. And I think that's all the areas that I selected, but I was trying to try to make sure we got a good sampling of different people and that represented our community or the students that come to Winslow and invite. Okay?
Hello. Okay, got it. Okay, so this is us. This is the steering committee. Sorry, I'm nervous. So this is who we are. We're, like Connie said, we're people from the community, and the goals that we had is what's best for Winslow, and to determine if we need a school bond. And we met from February each month And we're just analyzing the data that we all collected from the kids, the community, and the teachers. Next slide. And this is the school district's goal and mission. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. And these are what the community came up with, our goals. Go ahead, next slide. And these are the 3 that we thought were the most important and the best. Of course, the pickup and parking locations, and the facility to have maximum longevity with the low cost, and an environment where the kids want to learn. Okay. And this is the process. And we visited all the schools, and we're just collecting. We had a checklist of the stuff that is like pros and cons of each school. And yeah, next slide. And this is the survey that we took from the city, and this is the data that was collected, just like the people who did completed the survey, teachers, and most of this community members. And that was the data that was collected from the survey. Next slide. And this is just the process from the data we collected, the pros and cons, and pictures of the different facilities that we visited.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so as mentioned before, we came into the process. Architects went through and surveyed all the students. So they saw here they had pictures of the different layouts that are possible, and students were asked to go over post-it notes on what they liked and didn't like about all the different situations. That was really good to start with that information. Go to the next slide. The same thing with teachers as well. We're going to get their voice in this. As we saw in the survey, we didn't have a ton. The survey didn't go out as much as we wanted it to. So we did another survey again. We probably want to market it more and have more information come in because we have really limited data. Next slide. This is the HVAC analysis that Steve Henling provided for us. Going through just looking at what we currently have for all the different schools. As you know, we have really old schools with really old systems that are costing us lots of money to try to just maintain those. We wanted to keep that in mind as well as we looked at kind of the pricing of things and what options were for us. Next slide. We spent a night looking at just enrollment numbers as far as what's currently enrolled. You can see from 2017 up until this past year and where we're at on capacity for each of those. So you can see in that far right column, it shows us kind of what the current capacity remaining is. So if we needed to move students around while we're building something or something like that, we have the ability to do that for some of our schools. We also look at some of the state requirements. As you know, an elementary school has different requirements than a middle school as far as what square footage a student takes up in there. And also, keep in mind this square footage also includes things like gyms and hallways, things like that as well, which make us skew the numbers a little bit. Next. We also wanted to look at bus routes. So one of the big complaints we got from the survey and the steering committee as well was just talking about the bus routes, the waiting. Students can be on bus for like most of their afternoon. I have kids at Bonnie Brennan and at Jefferson. Next year I'll have kids at all 3 elementary schools. And I know just myself and just the driving and picking up, it takes forever. And a lot of parents have that same complaint. And also the bus routes, we want to kind of keep that in mind as well as look at other options in the future. Next slide, next slide. So next step, this is kind of new. So we'll turn time over to Casey. He'll talk about what this is and then we'll answer some questions.
So this kind of came up I guess it's been a couple months ago now, but we just got this letter a few weeks ago. We had applied through the school facilities board, just basically saying, hey, our buildings are at the end of life, and they actually approved us. So this is the letter that they approved us to at least get an assessment. They're not promising that they're gonna come in and do anything. It's really just that they'll come in, they'll assess it, and then they'll actually vote on it at their board meeting in August, whether they're at the end of useful life or not. If they are, then that kind of leads to a series of different steps, whether or not they'll actually fund building a new school. So we still have a little ways to go. They haven't scheduled a time yet. I did reach out to them, I think 2 weeks ago, and they said they should be reaching out soon, is what they said. But so far, we don't have a time when they're actually coming to look and walk through, but should be an engineer or an architect or somebody coming in to take a look, and then they'll report back. And then we'll go from there. We'll see what they say. So it does kind of put a little bit of a hold, not a hold, but it is something that we need to wait for to see, because it could, if they do say yes and that they'll provide some funding, it gives us another funding source as opposed to just going out for a bond or anything like that.
Thank you. So yeah, it doesn't really put a wrench in our plans, but it does, it just kind of hold it, put a brakes a little bit as we kind of wait to see what they're going to say. And again, as cases that even if they say, yep, your schools are past their end of life, then we are told that. It doesn't mean we get any extra money or anything like that. It's just kind of another possible avenue for helping us to do this project.
That was for 4 of the 5 schools, so
Yeah.
Jefferson, Bonnie Brennan, Junior High, and Washington.
All got approved to have a look, so.
Yeah.
So, what is the next step? What's the master plan? I know that's why you're all here. We don't really know yet. We have some really good ideas, and we're looking at a few different options and things, weighing all the information that we have. But at this point, the committee doesn't really feel comfortable sharing what those plans are, because it's a small town, it needs to get out, and miscommunication. We'll be really clear and streamlined in future meetings. This is what the plan is. So there's one plan out there, we can vote on that one plan, etc. So that's kind of where we are at this point. I think next one is just asking if you have any questions for us. So go back one, the slide is pretty before. So what questions do you have for us that we can answer?
So you're keeping it secret.
I wouldn't say it's a secret. It's just we sat down, so one of the things we did one night is we went through all the possible plans. We looked to say, what would it look like if we did neighborhood schools? What would it look like if we had one school? What would it look like if we tore down this school and not this school? And we went through all these plans and through that process came up with some ideas of what the best solution may be. However, with the alternative we now have of maybe having some schools be declared end of life, that may introduce some other ideas as well.
Okay, so we don't know whether we're gonna like improve in our schools that we're in now or just build an all-new complex.
Yes,
Okay.
so looking at price-wise, if we were to go in and follow the state requirements for square footage, if we just replaced every school, looking at about a $50 million project.
Yeah.
We don't feel like that's a good option to replace all the schools all at once. So it's looking at other alternatives, whether it's combining schools, building single campuses, things like that, to kind of bring that cost down for building as well as for maintenance. So, yes.
Any hope for the building next door as a possibility?
We've looked at that and looked at a couple different things. I'm not sure where we kind of came to conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously a lot of options that we can do there. Obviously, whether it's a city thing, whether it's reuse by the school, is some different options. Again, I think as these plans develop, that is one thing that we're going to address in some facet of what we think could be done with it. Obviously, bringing it, the next step is to start getting more into the community and having the discussions now that we kind of have a direction, and we need that information to kind of give some of that.
Yeah.
But I think that will be a piece of it for us to have further discussions to see what is going to be right for that.
Yeah.
So it's totally not end of life for it then? That's possibilities.
There's
Could
still
be a life.
possibilities. Yeah, we want to keep and I think the committee did a good job of looking at all options of every asset that the school has. Even if they're already considered end of life, it's still the school is owning, paying for it, it's still a building. So we're gonna try to address all of that in this process and in this plan.
Yeah. One thing I want to avoid is just leaving a bunch of more empty buildings in Winslow.
Yes.
So the more we can use those buildings, the better.
We don't want charter schools in there.
Yeah.
And if they are at their, end of life and we're not gonna use them, it would be a great opportunity for the city to maybe purchase those and make parks, because we don't, that's my idea. We don't have that here, we have Vargas and then we have Henderson Square. There's nothing kind of in between. So that I just don't want us to have 3 elementary schools left to die like this. And that's my main concern is in neighborhoods, I just don't want those buildings falling apart in
Yeah.
someone's neighborhood, so.
Yeah, we've talked about the city purchasing, we've talked about NPC and the possibility of bringing more of a campus here. I know they send a lot of their like NAVIT program things to Holbrook, there's a possibility there. We've talked about, looking at neighbors like Bonnie Brennan, housing, things like that. There's lots of options out there. And so part of the process as we start talking about a main plan is to talk about what about those buildings, and having a plan for that as well.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern is what we would do with those buildings.
Yeah.
And I think even on top of that, even, we've talked a lot about phasing as well, because like Jason said, the big sticker of all of it, if we did all of it, that 50 million is a lot. We may not be able to do that right away. So how we can phase some of that, how we can utilize some of the existing buildings, obviously they still need work and still need things to be done to them in that first phase. That's all stuff we're analyzing. I think we're getting close. I think, like Jason said, we have a direction. I don't know if we're at the full plan yet to bring it out. And so that's, I think, kind of why we're holding onto it a little bit, and we want to have a little bit of that information, because let's just say one of the schools does get deemed end of useful life, and the state would pay for that. Well, that could change the phasing, that could change what the bond actually would maybe be going for, if it is going to a bond. Again, there's a lot of things that could kind of maybe adjust, and we would hate to get something out there and then all of a sudden it's changing.
Yeah.
So we're still working through that, I think, with the committee on all that information.
One thing I think we do have a lot of consensus on is during that first phase, no matter what it is, addressing some of the parking and pickup on our current campuses.
Bonnie Brennan.
Yes. We've looked at options we can do there. They're relatively simple to make those that much smoother, especially at Bonnie Brennan. So that's one of the things we want to have in that first phase. What we do is fixing that problem. So.
I have another question. You mentioned earlier that getting the city involved with us having an IGA. Is there a possibility, or should I address this to Mr. Coolidge, of their involvement with the schools?
Yeah.
Since we do have an IGA.
Yeah, that's him.
They're broke.
There's lots of possibilities, whether it's economic development, housing development, potential. There's green spaces, obviously, the city would be interested in.
Okay.
So certainly, just as an example, if you look at Bonnie Brennan, we don't have a green space out in that area. So that would obviously be an ideal space for the city to consider. But we think that there's a lot of options that are available for the schools, whatever the determination is made, when the determination is made on what's the best route to go for creating a different school campus or whatever. So yeah, I think obviously yes, we have an IGA and we'll always partner with the school on utilizing each other's facilities, but I do think that there's good, it's certainly useful land, all of it, so.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to live across the street from a dead space or, someone breaking in the building all the time. You can surely understand.
That's probably, I don't know, you'd have to worry about that. That's probably the most prime land you own, actually, is that
Yeah.
Jefferson land. That's the biggest piece of land that you own besides the high school area here, but.
But I mean, if we didn't do anything with it,
Yeah.
if we have the problems there, you don't want to live there, you know what I mean? Or have your dad across the street from some crime area, because that's what we're dealing with here. It's just people breaking in. That's why I'm real concerned on what we're going to do with those schools. So.
And I will say that has been a hot topic as we've discussed the phasing and how those might work. We're making sure we have a plan for each of those sites.
That's what I want to hear. And I think the end of life, if the school facilities board doesn't see the junior high is at the end of life, those people might be, is that we really need to work on that. Anything else? No?
Casey, if you could go back to that second slide on there
Which one?
with everyone, all of our people on there that's on the steering committee. Okay, right there. Yep, right there. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone that's on the steering committee. I know Linissa's sitting back there being quiet. She's been a real key person for us in this group. She's brought a lot of great ideas, so I want to make sure that we recognize the people that come and they're helping us, they're giving us good ideas, and sometimes some things that, hey, we didn't even think about that. So, you know, like I said, Lynessa's here, I appreciate her time. David Coolidge is here, I appreciate his time. I know he's busy with the city of Winslow. He can give us, he's been giving us some guidance, and Todd Wilcox again, you know, because we talk about bringing in things from the reservation. You know, those are kids that we bring in from the reservation. Maybe maybe some of the chapter houses can help offer us if we decide to go this direction. Miranda Hosting, you know, because we're looking at food services also, so it was important for her. She's a parent. In addition to letting us know, well, look at the places that, like in these little areas, if you've been to all of our schools, like how much room they have to cook, you know, the food and everything. So she's been key. Stephanie Westover has been fantastic. She has kids all in the school, and then she also can give us feedback from her husband, Tim, which we appreciate. Steve Henling has given us a lot of data that we can look at, we can use with a lot of our systems here. We appreciate Steve. We have Jeff Hancock. Jeff, you know, he's out in the community, so he's our ears, and he can bring back a lot of things, again, what the community's thinking. Okay, we have Lorena Mora, she's a parent, okay, and so she's given us her input, and she's been here for a long time. And like I said, Lanessa and Katanya. Katanya's been giving us some good feedback, and then Jason. So I really appreciate them. You know, I think we met the first couple months 2 times a month, because it was like we just met, and then it was like when we're meeting again. So they are giving up like 2 hours of their time every time that we meet. And so these are people that are good for the team. They're really interested in this project, and they stay with us to help us move this along. So I just wanted to acknowledge everyone that's been on this team.
Okay, thank you guys very much.
Okay, our next one is, it's our administrators. We sent 5 administrators to the Solution Tree Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was called the Yes We Can Conference. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't know who's taking the lead to start, but they're going to tell us some really good stuff that they learned, other than it was a long ride.
But we got the creamery, so that was okay.
That's right.
So I don't remember who's first, but we did this with Solution Tree. This is something that we were really interested in because it was geared towards our special education students. You may know that 3 of our schools are in TSI because of our special education students. So we were really looking at different takeaways on how we could support them. And so we each chose an area that we felt was the biggest takeaway for us. So if you want to click, I think that just kind of goes over the tiered systems and all of that, okay? All right, Larissa.
So the takeaway I wanted to share with you is that, and this was the leading point of the conference, talking about how important it is to have systems and structures that support student learning. And so my big takeaway was how important this work we're doing this summer with our curriculum mapping to get our vertical and horizontal alignment more consistent across the district. And we know in places where it is lined up, we are seeing great results. So that's my takeaway.
All right, my takeaway was to make sure that our SPED goals are very individualized. Sometimes we see the goals to be very similar for students who have IEPs, so making sure that those goals are really individualized and targeted to what the student's in need of. And the targeted resource room, the pull out, yeah, this year we did more of a targeted resource room where the kids came and got their instruction who have IEPs in the resource room, as well as getting the push-in program. So we kind of did a hybrid of both, and we saw some success with that. So making sure that we're just being flexible and helping students in whatever way they need it.
To piggyback off of Amber, to help with our special education students, especially with the IEPs, I think what I took from the meeting is that we need to designate times specifically for our special ed departments and our teachers to PLC with our general ed teachers, which we haven't been practicing currently, but I do think it would be important to implement that and then see those positive things from our special ed kids.
Mine has to do with RTI. All of the schools have implemented RTI, and that's a response to intervention. But one of the things that we constantly seem to be doing is we're gonna RTI on this standard, and then we move on to the next standard. And either you have students that have not yet received the mastery on that, or you have students that are on the other end of the spectrum. They've already mastered it, and so you're kind of holding them back. So one of the things that they talked about was how you just RTI those essential standards, and that allows your higher learners to move faster, and then it helps support your students that may have not mastered those things yet.
So by the time I was put in my takeaway, all the good ones were taken. So, but overall, the ideology of one of the big concepts was, you know, we identify SPEC as a SPED, and they know that they have an IEP, and that's just inherited in the system. But one of the things that we could work on as a society, a district, whatever, is SPED kids should not know they're SPED. They should just be regular students that are treated the same, and sometimes they get extra help here and there, but they and other students should not feel any different or any lower or any, you know, they should all be on the same level in their minds, even though they may not be. And that's a tricky situation because we have all these cool terms, and Nathan loves his terms, and so, you know, that's a hard ideological concept to overcome.
I'm in the same boat too. Amber and Amanda stole mine. So I claimed it too. So anyways, potential is none of our business. This was actually a quote used by the speaker. As in sometimes we just kind of, we see the paperwork of a student, we see their IQ score, we see their eligibility. We automatically make assumptions that they shouldn't be receiving intensive instruction, or we give them shortcuts, or we feel bad for them, so we're just going to give them an A when they were in fact giving, you know, plenty of chances, so they probably deserve a C. So that was really emphasized that even students with IEPs, they will earn their grades, they will work through the standards. Create a culture of collaboration. This was a big one because often we kind of discuss sometimes when a child is designated as special education, there's suddenly kind of like more of the responsibility of the special education teacher and not the general education teacher. Same goes for when a special education teacher says a general education teacher, or sorry, general education student is not necessarily their responsibility. So these are our students, all of them. I mean, so we need to kind of just be developing and talking to each other about which students are struggling, which students are about, you know, could be potentially CST to referred for SPED. So developing that culture of collaboration, especially with special education and general education, and being as inclusive as possible. So, you know, we talk about, you know, a lot of our students with, you know, life skills, or, you know, more of our severe students, inclusivity is still important. They still should be around their peers as often as possible, participating in subjects where, you know, they can be involved, they can be receiving proper instruction. That was it. Did I answer a question?
Yes.
Notice how they all sat down. Yeah. Any questions?
It sounds like it was a good conference. You guys got a lot of good information from it.
Yeah.
Some solutions and some things you guys can try.
I do have a question regarding the TSI designation. Just because I understand that the population of students with IEPs or SPED, you know, designated, or kind of students that fall under SPED, is starting to increase within the district?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, there's obviously another thing that's coming up, but we do have 353 students total with IEPs. Okay. And when I compared to that to 1,800, it comes out to about 1,800 total students.
Yeah.
I believe that's about 19.56%. And I just want to kind of note that this is just not a Winslow problem. I was talking to a superintendent from a different district at Good Morning Winslow. He's like, yeah, we were like 8% 3 years ago. Now we're 19.
Yeah.
You know, so this is, I mean, probably even, it's even arguably, it could be more just outside of an Arizona problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and obviously what we can do directly is, like we talked about, was focusing a lot more on Tier 2 intervention. And that was a big topic when we had our breakout groups on the Yes We Can. The two people I talked to both said they were there to kind of figure out, they were principals from other states talking about what can we do about tier 2. And they did give us some ideas, but obviously because we're a unique situation, I mean, we have, like, we're not a K-6 school setup, we have a lot of small grades, but, you know, aligning it as close as possible, we talked about who can we use for tier 2, when can we use for tier 2 without sacrificing other subjects. So we're at least discussing it and acknowledging that it needs to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the tier 2 intervention, what, can you give some examples of that again, just to?
So tier 2 example could be a small group or scaffolding. So they'd be kind of like, say you broke them down by score, and they would be designated to a specific teacher that would reteach the standard. They could scaffold it, they could use more visual accommodations.
Okay.
If they had a parapro in there, they could utilize a parapro. They could probably make the group smaller. So it's usually going from, I always call like tier 1 is what everyone receives. This is including tier 2 and tier 3. That's why the solution tree said we shouldn't designate kids as tier, and I know we tend to do that, but everyone gets tier 1 instruction. And tier 2 is more for the kids that are either behind on what we consider the essential standard or, you know, behind grade level, and it's what we use as more intensive instruction. So again, small group, going over standards again and again, and then, you know, if that continues, then it goes to kind of like the tier 3, which should be about 5%. I mean, theoretically, it should be about 5% of your student population. So that's usually it. And then tier 3 would be exclusively like more towards like IEPs, you know, specific individualized goals. And we talked about this, making the goals more aligned with the essential standards. The lady from Yes We Can was kind of funny in this because she was from Texas, and she made this joke, you know, we have to do everything big in Texas, so they have like 1 million standards. So it's, the important part is to identify what our kids really need to know, which is where collaboration comes into play, right? To where, like, what do we feel the kid needs at this grade level for it to work? And then we orient, like I think Amber said, our goals. And I think even having the principals more involved with what the goals are, and that's not their fault. I mean, they don't have access to IEP Pro, for example. But just like having their input and kind of giving teachers guides on what we want the goals to be, individualized, of course, but oriented towards an essential standard.
Well, that's good to hear, because you kind of hit on a thought that I came across regarding, because again, you're talking about the takeaways from this, and then it's, because I was thinking, it's like, well, implementation, like what as far as what the next step is it going to be like a comprehensive thing between the whole leadership team or what? But pretty much what I'm thinking more so is like stemming from support, like principal support.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely crucial and is key in this, especially as we are trying to improve in those areas and everything. So that would just kind of be my suggestion, you know, trying to find the time and a way to really implement these takeaways and strategies into your schools. So then that way students, you know, are being supported, and well, not just students, but families and staff too, being supported.
I agree.
Right. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Great job, thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to move right on to item C, call to the public. Mr. Wilcox?
Yeah. Okay, the board invites the viewpoints of citizens throughout the district and considers the responsible presentation of these viewpoints vital to the efficient operation of the district. The board also recognizes its responsibility for the proper governance of the schools and therefore the need to conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner. The board therefore establishes the following procedures to receive input from citizens of the district pursuant to Federal Public Law 103-382, Title 8, and the district's Indian Education Policy. 1, individuals may address the board on any subject. 2, the board president shall be responsible for recognizing speakers, maintaining proper order and decorum, and adhering to the 3-minute time limit. And 3, the board expects that citizens who address the board will present concerns regarding the activities in question rather than make personal attacks upon board members, district personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Woodcock. Do we have anybody here tonight that would like to do the call to the public? Okay, cool. We're gonna move right on to item D, the consent agenda. Let's take a few minutes and look it over and see if we have any comments or questions. And I know that tonight we'll be approving coaches and volunteers, and Mr. Leonard did have a concern that he spoke with Connie and I about, and that was to make sure that they all have their fingerprints clearance card. So I know most everybody on here is returning, but I know there's a few volunteers that probably would need to get that, so we need to make sure we're on top of that, make sure everybody has that.
I do have a question. I was wanting to recuse myself from voting from some of these items. So, because there's only 3 people present tonight, would that make a misvote, or I don't know how to explain it, but can only 2 people vote on an item?
We would have to move probably his sisters to another meeting.
Well, items 9, 10, and 11.
Well, see that. So we have to have 3 votes.
So could we push this, because I know we're doing a special meeting next week.
Yes.
Could we do it then?
We could.
Okay.
So 9, 10, and 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is 9 and 10 because your cousins are on there? Or I think that it's just immediate family and someone who lives in your house with you isn't on. So it would really only have to be item number 9. Do you know if that's correct?
Yes.
So I think that you would only not be able to vote if it was someone in your immediate family, like your sister, mother, brother, or something like that.
Yeah, but
And someone who lives in the household with you.
okay, but I'm just basing it off of because I'm looking at it as relatives, kinship-wise, culture, relating it back to that, and I just wanted to be respectful of that, because that's how I view it as far as what's considered a conflict of interest or not. So
Yeah, we can postpone that till next week.
I would rather not vote against those.
You're going to postpone all of them, 9, 10, and 11? Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and see if we're going to approve item D, 1 through 8, and 12 and 13. So do I have a motion that we approve those and that we leave 9, 10, and 11 off for the special meeting?
Okay. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and vote on to approve items 1 through 8 and 12, 13, and 12, 13, 14.
Second. Carol had a 14.
It's the out-of-state travel?
Oh, is it on here?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
on
okay. Okay, let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. With 3 board members present. The consent agenda minus 9, 10, and 11 are approved. Let's move on to. Bye, David, thank you. Old business, we have none. Item F, new business.
Okay, this is the general education class size capacity, the special education class size capacity. So if you look in your board documents, you will see that we have class capacity. It looks a little bit different than what we've had in the past. Because every year this class size capacity for open enrollment and special education class size capacities are approved by the board. So if you looked at your document, we changed it a little bit because we're going by per case manager, students per case manager, or per school, like if we have 2 teachers at a school, you know. But we're getting away from that formula that included all the minutes and how many minutes could be on an IEP and stuff. So what I'm doing is recommending that you approve the class size for the general education and special education class capacities as presented.
Okay, so I have a motion that we approve the class size for general education and special education as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve the class sizes for general ed and sped class size capacities.
Second. Okay, let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the 3 board members present, we approve the class size as presented. Okay.
Number 2, routine annual procedures. Okay, these are procedures on our execution of warrants, signers for checking and saving accounts at Wells Fargo and BMO, credit card usage and limits, and sole source providers. All of those documents have been attached. And what I'm recommending that we approve the routine annual procedures as presented.
Okay, do you guys have any questions?
No.
Mrs. Montoya? No? Okay, do I have a motion that we approve the annual procedures as presented?
I'll make the motion to approve the routine annual procedures.
Second. Let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. With 3 board members present, the routine annual procedures as presented have been approved. Number 3.
Number 3 is the early release schedule. We had our principals submit their early release schedule. Those are all included in your board book. We have the early release days, and there's a sample of the early release for WHS and elementary early release. Okay? And so we're recommending that you approve the early release schedule as presented.
And I do know that the parents do like it better when they're not so confused on a Monday holiday. So, and this is, as I understand it, it's just staying the same, that if there's a Monday holiday, we'll still have the early release on Friday. Because I think that was really, everybody was confused on that. So I think they like that. So
Yeah.
do I have a motion that we approve the early release schedule as presented?
I'm just making sure, so there's nothing's different, right? It's pretty much consistent between both secondary and elementary levels, right? And I think the only thing that was, I know, I'm just trying to remember, I know this past year we voted on, for conferences, right? Parent-teacher
Our
conferences?
conferences are different.
Yeah, so that was, but that's already in here too.
Yes.
So, okay, so just, right. Otherwise, okay. Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the early release schedule as presented.
Second. Okay, let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. With 3 board members present, the early release schedule as presented is approved. We're going to move on to item number 4.
Okay, 4 is the pro statement for override election. The statement from the board to authorize an override election to sustain the current 10% maintenance and operation budget for the 25-26 school year. I forgot to leave that bigger so I can read it. And for 6 additional years. This is not a new tax. It is a continuation of tax that is paid currently. Funds from this tax help pay for all-day kindergarten, vocational education, honor classes, technology integration, standard-based instruction, and STEM. And so there's a document attached to your board books. We are asking for action on this. And Casey, you want to go ahead and is there anything you'd like to?
This goes into the voter pamphlet. It's just a vote yes for it.
Okay.
Is this the one that barely passed last time? Or no?
We asked about that. She said it actually passed more than some of the other districts. There have been times where it's been less, but yeah.
Perhaps you need to vote in
This is, we're going through a company who's helping us, and they said this is part of some of the required documents that go into the voter pamphlet as part of whatever gets sent out to all the voters in our district.
Okay, so we're just,
Anyone who'd be voting on it.
so we're gonna vote on to put this into a pamphlet.
Approving.
Approving it for the vote, to go to a vote for a pamphlet.
You've already,
Approving the statement itself,
You've already
is that what it is?
the resolution to call the election,
Yeah.
so that's already been done. This is just,
To put it in the pamphlet.
Mhm.
Okay. Do I have a motion that we're gonna approve to put it in the pamphlet?
I'll motion to approve this statement to be placed in the voting pamphlet for the district.
Second. Okay, let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. With 3 board members present, it's approved. So, right on to item number 5.
This is the first reading of ASBA Policy Advisory 787 and proposed policy revision. If you look in your board books, you'll see 2 attachments, a policy advisory of 787 and the EEAA walkers and riders. And the advisory, number 787, policy IJNDB, use of technology, resources of instruction. So if you read through that, you'll see where they've taken out old verbiage like cassettes, floppy disk, cassettes. So part of that's in there. And then they've added 1 paragraph that talks about artificial intelligence, AI. And so they just pretty much tell you a little bit how to use that in the classroom. So that's the only changes on that policy. So, and then the second one is the walkers. The policy EEAA walkers and riders was revised by the board in September of 2023 to change the radius of the walking students to Jefferson from 1 mile to half a mile. And in March of 2024, ASBA sent out a policy revision based on legislative session, which included a change to policy EEAA. When updating the manual, the approved changes from the September 2023 were deleted. Okay, the revisions includes the changes from September 2023 and March 2024. You pretty much put them in.
Yeah, it's the information in blue is what I put back in from September.
Okay.
So this is, since it's a first reading, it's just a discussion and information.
Anything you want to discuss on this?
Well, I was just wondering about the artificial intelligence. Hope there's not a possibility we can get hacked and information be out there to everyone. That's my only concern.
We're going to move right on then to
We're always at risk regardless.
item 6. My computer doesn't have it. So we're going to move on to item number 6, special meeting.
Special meeting on June 12th. The board will meet on Wednesday, June 12th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m. to approve the award of food service contract. In addition to, we may have some other things on the agenda.
Okay, the coaches and stuff. Okay.
Because right now we're in the process of interviewing a few teachers. So there may be more than that on there, but 7:30 a.m., June 12th.
7:30 a.m. Some people don't get up that early.
Will you
Some
be
people are
providing juice
retired.
and donuts? I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we will be here for a special meeting June 12th at 7:30. Will you both be here?
Yes.
Yeah? Because I know Joey won't. Hopefully Alan will, so, okay. That will be 7:30 a.m. Wednesday, June 12th. Oh, I was going to be here Tuesday, good, okay, cool. Okay, item 7.
7 is the revision of psychological support specialist, job description, and salary schedule. Okay. The psychological support specialist job description has been revised to remove reference to social emotional learning. So everything in that description, we took out the SEL. And this position will provide evaluation services and counseling, eliminating the need for virtual psychological services and an outside counselor. This position is on the director salary schedule, currently on step 13, the starting salary of $58,500. In order to attract candidates, it is requested that the position be moved from step 13 to step 17 with a starting salary of $66,000. So if you look at that document that is on board books, you can see the description. And so what we're asking to approve the revisions as presented.
Do we have any questions?
No, this isn't a new position, right? This is one that's been in existence. We just haven't had
Right.
a person hired like that works for the district. It's just been the
We've been,
contracting.
because we couldn't after
Yeah.
COVID, a lot of
Yeah.
people did not want to come back and work in the schools. Everything started being virtual, and the virtual became very expensive for all the related services that we were using. So this will actually be a person that will be here 5 days a week, working with our students in person, doing the evaluations and also doing some counseling for us.
Okay.
Do we have a recruitment plan in place? Because we really need it, so let's go ahead and,
Nathan is our recruiter.
okay. Good luck with that. All right, I'll move to approve the revisions to the job description.
Second. Let's take a vote. Aye.
Aye.
The revisions for the psychological support specialist have been approved as presented. I'm confused today. Okay, we're going to move on to item G, reports. Number 1, business manager.
Really quick, this is for April. We did have our budget revision, so this budget right here actually went up by almost $1 million because we had added back in all of those sped kids that were lost. So year to date, we spent 9.6 million, budget is 17.1, which is 56% of the budget at 83% of the year completed. So again, that will go up once all of the end of the year things in May come out and insurance and everything else, but.
So right now, we're doing pretty good. Thank you
Yes.
for that, Casey. We appreciate it. I know it's not always easy. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. We're going to move right on to number 2.
Okay, as you can see, there's a lot happening, but there's not a lot happening, okay? Because, we're all getting ready to, trying to get school started again. We just ended and we're going to start. So we're wrapping up our 23-24 fiscal year, and we're going to be completing all of our rollovers. We're in the process of interviewing a couple of teachers to get those slots filled. We still have some vacancies. Our office hours at all the schools and the district office and the special education and federal programs office would be, they are 7 to 4 Monday through Thursday. Okay, and we're working right through lunch, and on Friday 7 to 11. We hadn't done that in the past. I did make people stay until 4 o'clock, and sometimes I would let the staff leave and I would stay till 4 o'clock, because I do anyway. And the phone wouldn't ring, no one walked through the door, and I think after 2 or 3 years of not having anyone, we decided to go ahead and do the 7 to 11 on Friday. Okay, but everyone has it posted, and that way if you guys say, I didn't know, we do have it posted. We also have, we know that our elementary principals are busy in their schools. They're the only ones because they do not have secretaries during the summertime. So what we have, we talked about it today at leadership to post something that if there's, Stephanie Leiber said she would take any calls that pertain to registration. So I want to thank Stephanie Leiber for being willing to do that. And our district office staff is going to, any calls that parents, if someone goes to a school, because like I said, a principal could be down at the end of the hall or someplace, they can call our office, and then we'll make sure the principal gets that message. Okay, but all the principals are in their school, but we want to make sure that we can do that. Okay. June 9th through the 11th, the administrators will be attending the ASA conference in Tucson. And I really want to thank Star Senegini and Celia Largo for all their time, their hard work, and their dedication to their students at the Winslow Residential Hall. We will be developing, I guess, new partnership with some new people there. These people have been there, well, Sylvia's been there a couple years. I know Star's been there a long time. That has really, there was good communication and working with them because a lot of our students could attend the dorm. So I wish them well and look forward to see who our new people are that we're going to be working with from the Winslow Residential Hall. I also want to thank GH2. Thank you for being here tonight. Just in case you guys had any additional questions, and our steering committee, because like I said previously, they have given a lot of their time because they want to see good things for our kids here in Winslow. So again, thank you very much, steering committee. So.
Okay. Item number 3, the board president report. Again, I'd like to thank the volunteer steering committee because I know it's taking time away from your families to help our district look better, and thank you for, GH2 coming to Winslow, where it's a little bit cooler, not a lot, but a little bit. It's not like you walk out into an oven, so. But thank you guys, and thank you guys for taking the time to keep us informed, because I'm really excited. I don't know if anybody else is, but I'm excited to see what we're going to come up with. I'm excited for our students to have something better than what they're in now. And I'd like to thank Stephanie Blanger for doing a little bit of extra, and just to remind you guys that if you are in your schools alone, to make sure those doors are locked at all times. So we don't want someone roaming in there, and especially with 3 women in their schools alone. So try to be vigilant. I love the Friday 7 to 11 thing. I can't believe our superintendent agreed to that.
I can't either.
I always say, let him go. That is misuse of public funds. Let him go, I tell him. So her and I are like button heads over there, but I really appreciate it. I think it's really cool for you guys to just, you put a lot into it. You go to a lot of conferences or away from your families a lot. So just to get that little bit of extra time off, I think really means a lot. And the 9th through 11th, the ASA Tucson, you guys have a good time while I'm babysitting. Maybe I should stay in the room with you, and then I could just take them with me. But you guys have a good time, and make sure you tell us how it is when you get back. And enjoy the rest of the summer with no students there. I think, do we have another meeting at the end of this month?
The 26th.
And will you be back for then, or?
No.
Okay, so we'll have it without our superintendent?
You will.
Ooh, that's like.
Hey, I've got international
School's
calling
out.
though, so if need be, I can be, unless I'm in
Okay,
flight.
I think we can, Casey and Jennifer can handle it, so we'll be good. And that's all I have. Just enjoy the time off away from the students. Do what you gotta do to get it back on. Let's find some teachers and some parapros. Let's work on that, so. Okay, any other comments? Mr. Wilcox?
I guess just, I'm just happy to know that this year again was another success for the administrators and for students and everybody. So, it's hard to see like people leaving the district, individuals that have been dedicated their time to the district, but bringing in a new crop of people too, it's also positive. So again, I just kind of share the same thing, just to try to get our positions filled over the summer, and the training and professional development you're doing, being able to make a plan to implement it into the next upcoming years. It will be good to see. Thank you.
Mrs. Montoya?
I just want to say thank you to all our volunteers and our staff. I mean, coaches. I don't think we could function without them. Our administration, our teachers, our custodians, our bus drivers. Just a big shout out to them, because we're a team and it looks like we're getting it together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And like we just discussed, our next meeting is June 26th, 6 p.m. right here, without our superintendent. Oh, no, our special meeting, and then yeah, but we're talking, it says right here.
No, I'm staying for that meeting, then I'm gonna leave you.
Okay, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
We did do future agenda.
Oh, Oh, I skipped right over
future
that.
agenda items.
Okay, do we have anything we'd like to talk about?
I just wanted to know if there's a follow-up regarding the request about performance pay for our superintendent, if there was any feedback from,
I never heard from Mr. Ledbetter. I never heard a word.
again, that sounded
Mm-mm.
like.
I haven't heard anything from
Okay.
him.
That's still an item I would like to,
We can,
just to provide, I mean, some type of action on that, or, solution, something, where we can discuss it or whatever,
have
but,
an executive session.
Right, because we
Okay.
did talk to him on April the 19th.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. He didn't call me either, so. Anything else we done on a future agenda
Yeah.
item?
Well, I just again want to bring up the property on Elm Street and Old Main, and with the 70% IA enrollment, if maybe we could possibly save money to Oklahoma, no, I'm just kidding, for some Native American teachers also. Recruit some teachers. That's all.
Okay. Now, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
I so move.
I'll second.
Let's take a vote. Aye.
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 With 3 board members present, tonight's meeting has been adjourned. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.